Good morning. Well, we think about these events, and as we have been thinking about them, we realize now that the great journey has started. This journey to Bethlehem. Joseph, together with Mary, Mary's father, brothers, other members of her family, all those who belong to the house of David, all heading back towards Bethlehem for this registration. And as I said yesterday, I doubt whether Anna, the mother of Mary, would have stayed behind as well. I can just imagine her saying to Eli, if Mary's going, I'm going as well. But as they started out, they would find that, well, Mary was 9 months pregnant, and they would have to be just a little bit slower on the journey than normal. Normally, the journey would have taken about 3 days. Nazareth, down to the Jordan, 1 day. Next day, across the Jordan to Jericho. The third day, up the difficult road from Jericho to Jerusalem. And then on to Bethlehem from there, a short distance away from Jerusalem. But on this occasion, well, they may have taken a bit longer. The rest of the party may have said, well, we're going to go on ahead. We're going to find our places there because we have to find accommodation and everything when we arrive. But I can well imagine that Mary with Joseph and probably her mother and father would have taken just a bit longer to travel. Perhaps even resting over for a day at the Jordan or resting over for another day when they came to Jericho before continuing up towards Jerusalem and Bethlehem. So by the time they arrive in Bethlehem, all the accommodation has been taken up. Not only was the people coming there to register, but this possibly was the Feast of Tabernacles as well. And because Bethlehem was quite close to Jerusalem, people would be camping out around Bethlehem, waiting to go into the temple to celebrate this great feast. People who are not there for registration, but just people coming for the great Feast of Tabernacles itself. So when Joseph and Mary arrive there and start looking for accommodation, they can't find any. But one of the innkeepers says to them quite simply, well, the place is packed out with travellers, but I do have this stable where I keep some of the animals when there's a need, and in the winter. If you want to go there, you can use that little stable. It's private anyway, and you won't have to give birth to the child out in the open air. So that's where they went. They found this stable, and there in that stable, the child was born. An amazing story. Angels suddenly appear in the fields outside Bethlehem. The shepherds would have been bringing sheep up for sacrifice at the great Feast of Tabernacles. They would be keeping them outside Bethlehem until the temple called for them to be brought in to be sold and sacrificed at this great feast. They were looking after their sheep in the field when suddenly they see this strange sight. There's appearance of angels to them who tell them that the child has been born in Bethlehem at this time. And probably leaving some of their companions to look after the sheep, quite a few of them would have gone into Bethlehem to find this particular place of a child wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger, and finding him are amazed it is just as the angel said it would be. Now, what lessons can we learn from this? Well, I think as we look forward sometimes in our lives, we tend to worry about the future too much. You see, God knows what's coming. He doesn't mean for us to be careless about it. He knows what's coming. The children of this age have got to be wise in their own generation. They've got to know, for instance, that retirement is coming. They have to know that things are going to be happening in their lives which they have to take care of. I remember speaking to my own mother. Well, she was living in this large house in Cardiff. I said to her quite simply, Karen, my sister, and myself, we're not going to be coming back here. Sell the house and get a small flat. And she agreed, and she did. And had many happy years living in this small flat, which was she could look after. You see, she's been wise in the ideas of this world. But sometimes we worry about things, the fantasies of what might happen. I want to reassure you that God knows exactly where you are. When Joseph and Mary turned up in Bethlehem, all the accommodation was taken, but there was room in that stable. Why was it still empty? That's the point. Why was it still empty? Why hadn't the innkeeper, was obviously trying to raise money from all these travelers coming in the same time, why hadn't he let that particular stable? Because God had said to him, even without him knowing it, and even without him hearing it, leave that stable. Don't use it. I have another use for that stable. And probably even on Christmas Eve, arriving in Bethlehem and going to this innkeeper, suddenly he remembered, of course, I haven't let the stable. Now, why did I not let the stable? We said there is a stable where you can go and have privacy. And that's where Joseph went, and Mary, probably her mother as well, Anne, probably her father. I don't know who else was there with them. There might have been quite a little group in the stable and just outside of the stable as this child was being born. God knows where they were. He knew what their needs would be, and he catered for it. Amen.